Hi everyone, it's Kylie and here's my reflection video for Module 13, Copyright and Fair Use. The first question that we had was which areas of the websites we looked at surprised you the most as breaking copyright laws or not meeting the fair use criteria. So according to the website Code of Best Practices, it said that it's very, very unlikely that a teacher could be sued. The website also stated that they didn't know of any lawsuit actually brought upon by an American media company against an educator over the use of media in the educational process, which that made me feel better as a future educator, but it also made me wonder how the fair use laws and stipulations could be enforced if there's not usually a consequence of abusing the right, such as being sued. And then from the Fair Use of Copyrighted Materials website, I had never heard of the term orphan work. This occurs if you can't identify authors or their estates or business owners or can't successfully contact them. I was shocked to read that the vast majority of materials in our libraries and archives are in this category today, works for which a copyright owner cannot be found. The website said that we must avoid using this type of material in case the author comes back one day and brings it up, and then you get into some real trouble. And then the Fair Use of Copyrighted Materials website also stated that because of the duration of copyright protection established in the 1976 revision of the U.S. Copyright Act, no works published after July 1st, 1979 will pass into the public domain until at least 2048. Even anonymous works are copyright protected until 95 years after publication. That's just crazy to me. And then from the Educator's Guide to Copyright and Fair Use, I thought this website was by far the most helpful and easiest to understand. I was surprised that guidelines for public domain and copyright protected words are still predated for many of the new technologies used in schools today. It seems to me that there are a lot of gray areas and it's really hard to get substantial laws in place. There are no do or don't lists for copyright use. It's interesting that the internet itself is not a public domain because I think that's the common train of thought since everyone can access and use it. I also had no idea that through an international treaty called the Berne Convention, that individual countries establish their own rules about what works on the internet are in the public domain. That makes copyrights even more complex. I also read on the educationworld.com page that if you make a website, you should avoid downloading graphics, including bullets, logos, fonts, photographs, and illustrations. I feel that everyone has done that at some point or another, whether it's right or wrong. But one thing I did not fully consider until now was that educators need to keep in mind that works posted on other sites off the internet might not have been posted by the copyright owner or with the copyright owner's permission. Just because something is displayed does not mean it is there legally. It was interesting to think about how print rights and electronic rights are not the same thing. And then the next question, what examples have you experienced where educators have broken education or copyright laws or fair use policies, and is it really that big of a deal? In the past, I've had professors who had asked me and a couple students to make copies or scans of books or sections of the textbook so we would not have to purchase the book. At the time, we thought it was awesome, really helpful. Apparently, that is not allowed. Also, I've had many instructors use the same information in handouts for classes for decades. How did I know? Perhaps at the bottom of the handouts, the copyright date was stated. Overall, though, I would say the majority of all my teachers and professors credit the author or creator of a copyrighted work or attached to websites where they receive the information or image from, whether they actually got the actual copyrighted owner's permission to use it. At least they tried to give some sort of credit for where they got the information from. As for the fact of educators breaking policies and it being a big deal, no, I honestly don't think it is after reading the websites we were given to review. The concept of fair use was stated many times that it's very broad and hard to monitor and maintain use. Several websites stated that the chances of a teacher using copyrighted information incorrectly would not land them in court. Unless the use of the work interferes with the copyrighted information's owner's potential incomes. It's not that big of a deal, it seems like. And as long as the teacher is not getting some form of payment or income for the use of information, I'd venture to say that it's not worth the time for the courts to look into. And then, the final question, how did you fare on the fair use quiz from the csus.edu site, and what questions surprised you? I thought the quiz would be pretty easy and that I could go through it quickly, so I did. At the end, I thought a lot of the questions on the quiz were worded somewhat tricky and had a lot of information. So when I first took it, I got a 75, and then I decided to take it a second time, and when I slowed down and really took the time to read each question carefully, I got 100. The questions that surprised me were, one of them was, a media aid tapes 60 minutes every week in case teachers need it. This is fair use. The answer was false. The quiz stated that the schools may not tape in anticipation of requests. They can only act on actual requests. That didn't make a lot of sense to me, and I know that a lot of schools and teachers do that very thing. As what I've been reading with this module, there are a lot of gray areas. And then lastly, the question about a student finding a photo online or an image, using the image as a graphic element on their school's webpage, and even though they gave credit to the site from which it was copied, was not fair use. And according to the quiz, internet pages are copyrighted automatically. The student cannot safely post anything for the general public without permission, even if credit is given. So I was pretty surprised by that. I know that has been done a lot throughout the years. So anyways, this module was really eye-opening for me, and it reminded me to be a lot more aware of material from technological sources. So that's it. I hope everybody had a good weekend, and thank you for watching my reflection video.